the philosophy of non-duality is that we are the life presence. We are the one consciousness, the one thing, the one life force. And there are so many words that we could use for this, all of them inadequate. Yet when we allow stillness or quietness and remove the barriers between objects, between subjects, we become the solitary subject, the one. And we feel that, don't we, just in that couple of minutes of silence where we disentangle our attachment to the body, where we disentangle awareness from thought, from emotion, and allow the freedom of that sense of being, which is not bound by the body, which is not bound by mind, which is not bound by the patterns that have been laid down here. And we feel that infinite and expansive presence and the peace that comes with that, because that's innately peaceful. You know, the opposite to peace is war, and war is always when one force comes against another force. But when there is only one, there cannot be war, there cannot be disharmony. And this is how nature functions. In nature, everything is part of nature. Everything that is simply allowing itself to flow with that life force, with that consciousness, and is not pushing against it. The roots of the trees grow together. The birds nest in the branches of the trees and sing their song, which allows the trees to grow and to flourish. And then there's the eating, you know, one insect will eat another insect, but all this is just happening as one flow of nature that's happening in harmony. And there's no resistance from nature to that flow. It seems it's only with humanity being given the gift of mind and the software of the brain, so that we can cognize and philosophize. If we just use this in the way it was intended, then we also would be in flow and in harmony with that one energy of nature, that one consciousness that is expressing as multiplicity and diversity, as apparent different objects and subjects. Yet as soon as we melt back, or we hold that, knowing that there is one here, then there is always harmony. And whenever disharmony arises, whenever that war between mind and energy, this shouldn't be as it is. that resistance to presence. It is always coming from the patterned subject. Those patterns that are laid down from the moment of conception or before. But we'll just talk about the moment of conception. Those patterns, those beliefs, those fears, whatever is laid down on top of the beautiful, open nature of life force itself, of consciousness itself. And this is like the ripples on the pond. We can have a beautiful glassy surface on the pond, and we throw a stone into the pond and it creates patterns, and those patterns ripple out, and one stone will create enough ripples that they will ripple out and touch the entire pond. In the same way, the patterns that are laid down in body minds and they begin to interact, they send out waves of energy, of patterned consciousness, which interact with other patterns. If you can imagine a pond and we throw 10, 20, 30 rocks, and each one is rippling its wave out and touching and interacting with another, distorting the beautiful surface that was like glass, like pure. And because it was unrippling, the reflection of the I am was seen beautifully there. It was simply reflecting nature as it is. Now, there's nothing wrong with these ripples, with the ripples on the pond and the ripples that are moving out from the patterned body minds. Sometimes they touch another and there is harmony and they blend. And this is the playing out, the drama unfolding. But when the patterns become more and more distorted, then greater and greater disharmony occurs. And when many distorted patterns connect with each other, there is greater and greater disharmony. Terry turned the news on tonight, and there was an American, Afro-American was killed by a policeman recently, and there's all sorts of riots happening. And what's happening is that the patterns that have been laid down in many of the people who are protesting were frustrated patterns from the COVID, being locked up, being poor, being marginalized, perhaps, having had woundings and patterns of being ostracized and victimized for their race. And into the pond came a big rock in the form of what happened with this man who was wrongfully killed, and everyone's patterns have exploded and they're all banging against each other, and there's chaos in the pond over there at the moment. And this is what happens until we can realize that these are just patterns playing out. We actually are the still pond. And when those patterns, even if they arise when they're no longer acted upon, but they're seen through as arising patterns that are coming to the surface and popping like bubbles into the space, but not creating ripples on the pond, then, only then, can there be harmony. And for this to happen, it means we need more people to understand the playing out of the patterns, rather than being attached to my history, to my woundings, to my pain, to my anger. Because in that, we are lost in the dream. None of it is real, yet we're believing it is real. And this is what causes suffering. Allowing the body to be still and quiet. Notice any sensations that are in the physical body to begin with. And then letting go of that focus to the physical and switching into an awareness of the sense of being. The sense of aliveness, which is not restricted to the body. Which is infinite and boundless. The one sense of being that flows through every object but is not an object, that exists in every space yet is beyond space, that is alive in every living creature, yet it is not bound to the creature. That sense of aliveness that was there as a child is the same sense of aliveness that is here now. It has no age. It has no shape. It is not limited to object or subject. It is the one sense of aliveness where we all connect as that. And then gently returning to the physical unit, this body-mind seated on the chair. Knowing that one without another is who we truly are. Yet that life force acts through this body-mind to give us the experience of duality, the play of life unfolding. Take a deep breath in and out. Grounding back into the seat of the body.